They asked me for $2,000 to fund a Christmas that my kids weren't even invited to. They wanted designer pine cones and a stylist, but not my children. Then they showed up on my porch and told me I was ruining the family brand. I didn't slam the door. I set boundaries and shut the group chat down. Watch until the end to see how I finally reclaimed Christmas and myself. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share if you've ever been the black sheep. Hi, I'm Levi, 36, a designer by trade, dad by default, and the family scapegoat by tradition. And last December, I learned that my entire family considered my kids off-brand. It started with a phone call. Tuesday night, cold outside, warmer inside, where my son Theo had fallen asleep on the couch in his dinosaur pajamas, and my daughter Mia was wrapping our already haphazard bookshelf in a construction paper chain she made in school. My phone rang. Mom's name lit up like it always does before she asks for something. "We're doing Christmas Eve at our place this year," she said, voice already in that strained, breathless hostess tone like she just finished fluffing the napkin folds. Then came the turn. "Honey, your brother's bringing his girlfriend to meet the family." I waited. "She's particular," Mom said, drawing the word out like it needed to be handled with gloves. "They're trying to create a certain aesthetic. You understand?" "Of course," I said. Then came the knife. "She doesn't want your kids there." I froze. "What?" "She says they'd ruin the perfect image." There was a silence so sharp I could hear it crack. The microwave clock blinked 7:42. Mia's paper chain fluttered like it knew. "Be flexible," Mom added softly. Weaponized softness. Just for once. I looked down the hall, saw the tiny sneakers parked by the door. Theo's stuffed triceratops on the floor like it was mid-protection detail. My kids are 7 and 5, sticky and loud and real. They are not an image. They are the whole movie. "I understand," I said, and I hung up. I didn't yell, I didn't protest, I didn't make a scene. But the next morning, they showed up on my porch anyway. No text, no call. Just the doorbell and the 4 of them. Mom, Dad, Zach, my brother, and the girlfriend, Brooke. And when I opened the door, Brooke looked at the handmade paper chain behind me, looked me in the eye, and said with a bright, flat smile, "So, you're the one who keeps ruining the family brand." I wish I could tell you I slammed the door, that I said something devastating and walked away in slow motion like a movie hero with better hair. But I just stood there, barefoot in sweatpants, while Theo crashed his toy truck into the doorframe behind me, and Mia sang Jingle Bells in the kitchen like it owed her money. Brooke blinked, clearly thrown off by real life happening in real time. "Wow," she said, "your place is lived in." "It's called having children," I replied, already tired. "Come in or don't, but I'm not turning the volume down." They came in like a wave. Mom started talking before her coat was even off. "Levi, you made me feel awful last night. We are just trying to have one perfect Christmas." "One! Without my kids," I said, not a question. Dad chimed in. "You're being dramatic. It's not about excluding them, it's about timing. This is an important moment for Zach and Brooke." "Oh, is it?" I looked at Zach, who was adjusting his perfectly distressed sweater like it might suddenly solve climate change. Are we all just pretending we haven't carried Zach through every moment of his life since he discovered that bro was a full sentence? "Bro," Zach said, already annoyed. "This isn't about me." "No?" I asked. "Because the last time I checked, I'm still paying for your domain name, your Shopify subscription, and the lens you borrowed for your girlfriend's candle photo shoot." Brooke raised her hand like she was hailing a cab. "Okay, pause. I didn't know you were paying for that. Zach said it was part of the, what did you call it, babe? Family Creative Fund?" "There's no such thing," I snapped. Dad waved a dismissive hand. "This is why we wanted to talk in person. It's a misunderstanding. We just thought—" Mom cut in. "We thought, Levi, you could contribute to Christmas this year, financially. You're so good with money." I barked a laugh. "Because you keep giving me more of yours to spend." We're spreading ourselves thin, Mom said, her eyes darting to Brooke like they were performing for a camera that didn't exist. We've hired a photographer, a stylist. There are deposits. We just need a little help. You've always been generous. How much? I asked, deadpan. Don't be crass, she snapped. But if you must know, 2,000 would take the pressure off. I just stared. And in that moment, Theo walked back in, cheeks flushed, dragging his triceratops by the horn. He looked at the grown-ups, at their perfect coats and perfect frowns. Pancakes, he said. Brooke flinched, just a little, like the word offended her. I crouched and kissed his head. I'm making them right now, bud. Go get your sister. And then I stood, turned back to the family board meeting in my living room, and said the only thing that mattered, I'm not funding a Christmas where my children are considered clutter. Zach actually rolled his eyes like a sitcom teenager. Bro, it's one night. No, I said. It's a pattern dressed up in beige linen and social media strategy. Brooke stepped forward again, phone still in hand, probably ready to Google an inspirational quote to win the argument. We're building something, she said. You're a creative. You know how hard it is to get traction. We have product sponsors lined up. We're doing a white-on-white table. It's a vibe. My kids are not a threat to your vibe. They're chaotic, she said carefully, as if the word were clinical. They're unpredictable. They're children. Mom sighed with great ceremony. Levi, you're twisting things. We love the kids. You love them as long as they don't get frosting on the aesthetic. Dad finally stepped in. Son, we don't have time for this spiral. We're not saying don't bring the kids ever, just not this year. I laughed, cold and short. Because of a photo shoot on Christmas Eve. Zach jumped in. It's an opportunity, bro. Friends don't let friends miss opportunities. Family, Dad corrected him, already irritated. Right, Zach said, like it was his tagline. Family. I looked at all four of them, standing in my living room like investors ready to cut me out of my own company if I didn't hit Q4 projections. And that's when something in me went still. Not numb, just solid. I'd spent years absorbing their dysfunction like a sponge with a calendar. No more. I said, calm as a snowfall. I'm going to need a minute to think. Mom's face brightened like I'd cracked. Today would be best, she said. We have deposits. Zach added, Brooke's got a mood board. We can send you the lookbook. Brooke, without missing a beat, sent 3 images to the group chat. A table so white it looked like a medical exam was about to happen. Pine cones, bleached like bones. Not a single speck of red or joy or child. My phone vibrated again. The group chat lit up. Family immediate. Mom had renamed it last year, right after I bailed them out of a surprise tax bill. Her new message blinked on screen. Levi, please don't be difficult. Then Dad, we need a decision by 3. Zach, Venmo is fine. Brooke, sending inspo. I stared at the phone, at the faux candid perfection of their Pinterest Christmas, at the message history, miles long with requests, favors, guilt trips. And I scrolled past it all. I opened my camera roll, screenshotted my receipts folder, the Civic, the iPad, the groceries, the streaming subscriptions, the $208 charge at 3 a.m. for a premium design template bundle that I didn't buy. But Zach did, and I dropped them all into the chat, one after another. Then I typed, me. Just a reminder. Mom responded instantly. Tacky. Zach, we said we'd pay you back. I replied, you also said that about the Shopify, the photo gear, the Adobe license, and the phone plan. Dots appeared, then vanished. Finally, Brooke. Money as leverage over family is not the vibe. I stared at that for a long time. Long enough for my phone to go dim. Then, something inside me finally clicked. It wasn't new. It was ancient. But I'd been ignoring it for years. Boundaries aren't mean. They're honest. And that's when I started typing. After I dropped those receipts in the group chat, everything got real quiet. That eerie family silence. The kind you get when everyone's trying to reframe your clarity as cruelty. My phone lit up with a slow drip of messages. First, Mom, you're blowing this out of proportion. Be an adult. I stood in the kitchen, Theo's syrup-sticky hand gripping the hem of my shirt, and Mia humming like a broken music box as she dumped an irresponsible amount of sprinkles onto her pancakes. And I realized I was being an adult, just not their version. So I texted back, I am. Here's what's changing. And then I typed out what felt like a scroll of liberation. Plain language, no fluff, just boundaries, listed like terms and conditions I should have set years ago. I'm removing you from my phone plan at the end of this billing cycle. I'll send you the transfer PIN. I'm changing my Adobe password and reporting any unauthorized use. Zach, that includes you. I'm signing out all devices from the streaming services. You can set up your own accounts. I will not fund events that exclude my children. If you use my business cards again, I'll report it as fraud. I hit send. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then came back, then finally, Dad. This is not how family behaves. Me. No, but it's how people stop being used. Zach. Dude, over $2,000. You're nuking the group over a couple grand? Me. Not just over money, over the pattern. Mom, you're making this hostile. Your children will hear about this. That was it. The moment. The lit match. I looked at Mia across the room. Her cheeks powdered in sugar, her hair half pulled into a ponytail and already escaping. She looked like joy in motion. I typed one last reply. No, they'll hear I protected them. Then came the knock. Again. I opened the door. There they were. The whole branding team. Brooke with her neutral palette and perfect hair. Zach, arms crossed like a dollar store CEO. Mom and Dad, faces so tight you'd think I'd repossessed their dignity. Mom opened her mouth. I held up my hand. Stop, I said. I'm not your bank. I'm not your graphic designer. I'm not the silent one anymore. You're blowing up Christmas, Zach snapped, over a vibe. You blew it up, I said, when you made family conditional. Brooke stepped forward, voice sweet and brittle. This is unhinged. Then don't hinge on me. Dad tried the soft guilt. Son, think of the bigger picture. I am, I said. I see it clearly now. I shut the door. And this time, it didn't feel like loss. It felt like alignment. Inside, the house rang with the noise they hated. Spoons clattering, Mia's off-key caroling, Theo trying to balance an entire banana on his head. I let it wash over me like a song I forgot I loved. My phone pinged again. Group chat. Mom, you've been cruel. Dad, we deserve a conversation. Zach, grow up. Brooke, unbelievable. Then came numbers I didn't recognize. Aunts, cousins, family friends. The Whisper network gone digital. Maybe tone it down. Your mom is crying. It's just one Christmas. Your kids make things complicated. I didn't reply, not to any of them. At noon, the first real consequence hit. Not mine, theirs. Dad texted, our phones aren't working. Is this you? It wasn't, yet. But I called the provider just to check, and that's when the rep told me something fascinating. Zach had ordered himself a brand new iPhone on my plan. At 3:07 a.m., the SIM transfer triggered a security lockout for my parents' line. Their phone stopped working because Zach tried to help himself to a phone upgrade like it was a Costco sample. I canceled the order, triggered a fraud alert, locked the account to owner only. Then texted the group, nice try. Screenshot attached, Zach replied with a vomiting emoji. Classy. Later, Adobe emailed me about a new sign-in. Guess the city? Yep. Same as Zach's. I remotely logged out of all devices, reset everything with 2-factor authentication and a physical key, and messaged him separately. If you need design software, buy it. He replied with a middle finger emoji and a meme of a crying baby. At 5 p.m., another knock. This time, just Brooke. No Zach, no parents, just her and that flawless coat. I don't want a scene, she said. Then stop showing up at my house. She glanced past me. Mia was dancing. Theo was screaming, "Jingle Bell Rock," like it was war. My kitchen looked like a toddler tornado had touched down. "I get that you're protective," she said, "but you're tanking something big." The brand was ready to feature us. They like minimalism. "Cool," I said. "Then they'll love the space where we used to be." "I didn't know about the money asks," she added. "That's not my lane." "I believe you, but you still stood on my porch and told me my kids ruined the image." "I panicked," she admitted. "I said something unkind because I wanted to be liked." I nodded once. "Then rethink what kind looks like." She glanced down at her boots, at the paper chain still hanging behind me, then said something I didn't expect. "We won't ask you for anything else." I smiled, small. "I know." And I closed the door. That night, Mia asked a question that cracked something in me. She was in her unicorn pajamas, curled beside me on the couch, when she said, very small, "Did we do something wrong?" "What?" "Grandma said we're a lot. Did we mess up?" My chest went hollow. I got down on the rug so we were eye level. "You were loud," I said, "and silly, and brilliant, and not for anyone's brand. Someone made a grown-up choice that wasn't kind. That's not your fault." She nodded slowly, the way she does when she's storing information like treasure. Then she climbed into my lap. Theo, who'd been under the coffee table pretending to be a dragon, flopped across us like a sleepy lizard. We became a heap, and I made a quiet promise. The moment anyone makes my kids feel like their bigness is a burden, we're done. Far away at that white-on-white dinner, my family posted like nothing had happened. A cousin DM'd me a screenshot of Mom's Instagram story. Candles, beige everything. Pine cones so pale they looked bleached. I didn't even open it. I'd unfollowed months ago. But in the reflection of a serving spoon, you could see the space where two small kids should have been. The next morning, Christmas Day, Mom called. "We had to put the catering on a credit card because you wouldn't help," she said. "The bank flagged it. We're over the limit." "I'm sorry you planned something you couldn't afford," I said. "You'll reimburse us," she snapped. No. There was a beat, then. "Your father is very disappointed. I regret every hour I spent fixing your problems instead of being with my kids." She hung up. By noon, Zach texted me a pay now request for $1,850 or his memo. "Christmas team support. Your share." I laughed out loud. The kind that sounds like disbelief breaking. I replied, "I'm not joining your co-op." Then came the whispers. A Facebook post from one of Mom's friends about ungrateful children. A cousin messaged, "You okay?" Zach tried to borrow my camera. When I said no, he said you owe him for the brand work he did for you. I sent a single skull emoji. At 3 p.m., there was another knock. It was Aunt Linda, our family's one consistent truth-teller. She stood there in her fleece jacket, holding a bag of gingerbread and a look I hadn't seen from a relative in years. Respect. "I told your mom she was out of line," she said. "She said you were cruel. I said you were right." She gave Mia the cookies and handed Theo a pack of glow sticks. "Merry Kid Christmas." She didn't stay to fix anything. She stayed to be here. That was enough. When she left, I stood on the porch. It was cold and sharp, and I felt a kind of lightness I hadn't in months. Not happy, but unhooked. The next part came fast. I opened a new bank account, moved all my business finances, closed the credit card Zach had memorized through autofill, froze my credit, changed my passwords, every single one. Then I cleared the closet, the iPad I'd given Dad but kept paying for, the DSLR Zach borrowed, the ring light Brooke left behind. I put them in a trash bag, drove them to my parents' house, and left them on the porch with a note. "Returning your stuff. Please return my peace." A neighbor saw me. "Merry Christmas," he said. "Working on it," I replied. That night, while the kids slept tangled in one bed because it feels safer, I opened my laptop and created a private folder. I named it Evidence. Not for revenge, for clarity. Screenshots, emails, purchase logs, the 218 template charge, the iPhone upgrade Zach tried to sneak onto my plan. The text, "Your children will hear about this." I didn't send it to anyone. I just looked at it. Because gaslighting only works if you start doubting your own memory, and I needed to remember that no, I wasn't imagining it. On Christmas morning, Mia woke me at 6:03 a.m. with a whisper scream, "Snow!" It wasn't sticking, just wet flurries. But we still ran outside in boots and pajamas. Theo licked a flake off the railing and declared it minty. Inside, I made cinnamon rolls that burned slightly on the edges and collapsed in the middle. Mia said they were perfectly weird. Theo called his a cinnamon volcano. No photo shoots, no mood boards. Just a morning that felt honest. We opened presents slow. I took 2 pictures, one of each kid, just for me. I didn't post them. Around noon, Brooke texted me. "For the record, I didn't know about the money asks, not my lane. I'm sorry for the brand comment. I panicked about being liked. I'm rethinking some things." I typed and deleted a dozen drafts before replying. Good. In January, the light goes thin. The kind that makes you notice what stayed behind after the decorations are boxed away. I kept 2 things, a clean calendar and a clean conscience. Mom tried again a week later. Sunday dinner, to talk this out. Your father misses you. We need to reset expectations moving forward. It all sounded like project management, not love. I responded once. When you're ready to apologize to my kids for making them feel like a problem, we can talk. Not before. Silence. Zach posted a carousel of the dinner. Caption, grinding with my day ones. Prayer hands emoji. Comment section said, goals. I scrolled past. A week later, he texted me. Brooke and I are taking a break. You happy? I stared at the screen, then set the phone face down and built a Lego spaceship with Theo. It looked like a toaster with wings. At work, I stopped staying late fixing other people's mistakes. I trained my junior designer instead of quietly fixing her files. I told my project manager, no rush, when they tried to fake a deadline. My boss asked if I was okay. I'm good, I said, and meant it. Mia asked if we were going to Grandma's again. I told her we could invite Grandma here if she apologized. Will she? She asked. I said, people surprise you. 2 weeks later, Aunt Linda invited us over. No agenda. Just warmth. We went. She had mismatched mugs, a dog that shed like it was paid hourly, and a puzzle missing 4 pieces. Mia wore 2 different socks on purpose. Theo stuck a gummy bear to the dog. It felt like safety. On the drive home, the kids sang off-key. Messy, loud, great. That night, I did something small that felt huge. I printed a list and taped it inside our kitchen cabinet where we keep the bowls. I don't pay to be treated badly. My kids are not negotiable. No is a complete sentence. Family is a verb. I read it every morning like a prayer. On days I forget who I am to them, it reminds me who I am to me. A few nights later, Dad finally texted, your mother wants to try again. Sunday. Bring the kids. I replied, we'll come by for an hour. If anyone mentions image or money, we leave. He wrote back, fine. No emoji. Progress disguised as grumpiness. We went. Mom had clearly rehearsed. The apology came out stiff, but real enough. She knelt in front of Mia and Theo and said, I made a mistake. Not if, not but. Just the sentence. They forgave her instantly. Kids are wired for that. I let my shoulders drop an inch. Zach wasn't there. Mom said he was busy. I didn't ask. We stayed for exactly 1 hour. Ate dry cookies. Took home leftovers we actually wanted. When Mom started to fish around for trip planning and family goals, I stood and smiled. We're heading out. No drama, no speech, just the line. We left at 59 minutes. Sometimes you keep promises to yourself with a timer. That night, Mia asked what the moral of Christmas was. She does that now, life as fable. I'm apparently the wise owl. I thought about candlesticks, pay now requests, paper chains, banana dinosaurs. The moral, I said, is that love isn't a filter. It's messy, loud, and it doesn't ask you to shrink. She nodded like that was obvious. And we're keeping the paper chain up till March, she added. Deal, I said. Lights out. The house hummed. Not perfect. Ours.